Good morning and welcome to day 5 of our MCA review. We are going to be doing linear equations and line of best fit today. So we are going to start writing an equation in standard form that has the given slope and passes through the given point. Our slope is 4 over 5 and our point is -3, -1. So what we need to do is we need to start by writing our equation in point slope form. And point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So our y1 and our x1 are right here. This is x1 and this is y1. Our m is our slope. So our m is 4/5. So if we were then to write this in point slope form, we would have y minus our y1, which we said was -1. Two negatives in a row, we can make it positive, so it's a +1, equals our m, which we said was 4/5, times x minus x1, and we said our x1 was -3. Two negatives in a row make a positive. So our equation is y plus 1 equals 4/5 times x plus 3. Now we need to get rid of these parentheses, so we're going to draw our box. So we get 4/5 on the outside times x plus 3. 4/5 times x is 4/5 x. 4/5 times 3 is 2.4. So we are going to have a positive 2.4. So then what we have is y plus 1 equals 4/5 x plus 2.4. Now we need to get y by itself, so we need to subtract 1. So then what we have left is y equals 4/5 x minus 1.4. So what this is slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. What we need to do is get it to standard form, which is ax plus by equals c. So what we need to do is move our 4/5 x over to the other side. So how we're going to do that, since our 4/5 is positive, we are going to subtract 4/5 x from both sides. So then what we're left with is -4/5 x. Our y is positive, so plus y equals -1.4. This is our equation in standard form. Next, it says, write an equation of a line with a slope of -4 and a y-intercept of 5 in point slope form. So again, point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Well, now let me erase that there. So we know that we have a slope of -4, so our m is going to be -4. We know we have a y minus and an x minus. What we need is a y1 and an x1. When we have a y-intercept of 5, that's really saying that we have a y-intercept at 0, 5. So when we have a y-intercept at 0, 5, we have an x and we have a y. Our y1 is going to be 5. And our x1 will be 0. So here we have y minus y1, which is 5, equals negative 4, which is m, times x minus 0, 0 is x1. So here is our point-slope form equation. Our next problem, we need to write an equation of a line with the two given points in standard form. So our first two given points we need to use to find our slope. So if this is going to be an x, and this will be an x, and this will be y, and this is y, then we know that this is the first x, so x1, and x2, and y1, and y2. So what we're going to do is we are going to use this equation, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So our y2 then is 7 minus our y1, which is negative 2. Two negatives in a row make a positive. Our x2 is 5 minus our x1, which is 2. So what we get then is 7 plus 2, which is 9, over 5 minus 2, which is 3. We can simplify this by dividing by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So our slope is 3. This is our slope. So our m equals 3. Then we need to write it in our point-slope form. So we have y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So y minus, now we need to just pick which one we want to use. Let's use the one that already has x1 and y1. So we know our y1 then is going to be negative 2. Two negatives in a row can make a positive. Equals our m, which we found out was 3, times x minus our x1, and we said our x1 was 2. So then if we get rid of our parentheses, we gotta draw our box. We get 3 and x minus 2. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. So what we have left is y plus 2 equals 3x minus 6. So to get y by itself, we need to subtract 2. So those cancel. What we're left with then is y equals 3x minus 8. This is our slope-intercept form equation. We need to do one more step to get to standard form. So we are going to move our 3x over to the other side by subtracting. Standard form has the x on the other side with the y, so that's why we're moving it over. So we get negative 3x plus y, because y is positive, equals negative 8. This will be our standard form equation. Alright, let's go on. It says write an equation in slope-intercept form. So slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So what we need to do is we need to find our m, and we need to find our b. Now the m is the slope, or the rise over the run. So our rise is going to be 1, 2, 3 over our run, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3 over 6 can be simplified to 1/2 by dividing each of those by 3. Our b is going to be where the line crosses the y-axis. So where the line crosses the y-axis is right here. That's down -1, -2, -3. So our b is -3. So then if we wanted to write this in slope-intercept form, well, we could do that just by saying y equals our m, which we found was 1/2, x, and then our b, which we found to be -3. So y equals 1/2 x minus 3. Here we have to write an equation in standard form. So what we can do is we need to figure out our y equals mx plus b first, since we have a graph. So if we have y equals mx plus b, then we can find our m, our slope, by counting the rise over the run. It's going downhill, so we know it's going to be negative. And we're going down 1, 2, 3, 4. And over 1, 2, 3, 4. So that can be simplified by dividing each by 4. Then we get -1. Then we're looking for our b. Our b is where the line crosses the y-axis. Our line crosses the y-axis right here. That's down -1, -2. So our b is -2. So if we were to write this y equals mx plus b, we would write it y equals -1x minus 2. That's slope-intercept form. Now to get it to standard form, we just need to move the x over to the other side. So how we're going to do that is we're going to add 1x to the opposite. And what our answer comes out to be then is x, or 1x, plus y equals -2. So our standard form is 1x plus y equals -2. Alright, so this problem says write an equation in point-slope form. So what we're looking for is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So what we need is a point and we need a slope. Well, we can find our slope easily by finding our rise over the run. It's going downhill, so we know it's going to be negative. It's going down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's going over 1, 2, 3. That can be simplified to -2. Then we need to find a point. So we can pick any of these 2 points. We could pick this one up here, and that could be over 1, 2, 3, or -3. And up 1, so -3, 1. Or if you wanted to, we could pick this point. We went on the x-axis 0, but we went down -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. So I'm going to use this point, -3, 1, but you could use the other point if you wanted to. So we could have y minus y1. Well, our y1 then would be 1. So y minus 1 equals our m, which we found to be -2, times our x minus x1, which we found to be -3. Then two negatives make a positive. So in our point slope form, we have y minus 1 equals -2 times x plus 3. Alright, our second lesson is going to be scatter plots and best fitting line. So what we need to do first is we're going to use the given line of best fit to approximate the rate of change. So what we need to do is we need to find our slope to give us our answer here. So we need to look on our line at points where we think our line is going to cross an intersection. It looks like we have one here and one here. So if we find the slope from that point to that point, we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You know our slope is 7. And our rise is 7, And our run is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So our slope would be 7 over 8. Now we look and see if any of these are 7 over 8, and it looks like D has 7 over 8. So we know that that's our answer. Here we need to find the equation of our line of best fit. So what we're going to do first is we're going to pick two good points. It looks like we have a point here right on our line, which is good, and a point here right on our line, both at intersections. So we're going to label these points. This one is at -1, up 1, 2, 3. So -1, 3. This one is at 1, 2, 3, 4. -1, 2, 3. So 4, -3. So once we find our two good points, we need to find our slope. So what we're going to do is count down, because we're going downhill. We're going to count our rise over our run to give us our m. Our rise is -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And our run is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we know our slope is -6 over 5. Then what we're going to do is we're going to put it into our equation. And the equation we're using is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. This is point slope form, so we're going to use this because we have a slope and we have points. So we're going to start with y minus, and we're going to figure out which one our y1 is. Well, we can pick either -1, 3 or 4, -3, whichever one we want to. But I want to pick -1, 3. So this at -1 will be our x1, and 3 will be our y1. So if 3 is our y1, we know we have 3 for y1, equals our m, which we found was -6 over 5, times x minus x1. our x1 we found to be -1. Then if we have two negatives in a row, we can make those positive if we want to. Alright, so now we need to put it into slope-intercept form. So we need to draw our box. So we get -6/5 outside and x plus 1 on top. -6/5 times x is -6/5 x. -6/5 times 1. If we put that into our calculator, we get -1.2. So then what we're left with is y minus 3 equals -6/5 x minus 1.2. To get y by itself then, we need to add 3. And what we're left with is y equals -6/5 x plus 1.8, I believe. Yep, 1.8. So here is our equation for this problem. For the next problem, we need to find our two good points. So we're looking for points that would go through an intersection on our line. Now we can make these if we want to, if there's no points that are on our line at an intersection. So it looks like we have one at 0, 0 and one at 3, 4. So this one's at 0, 0. This one's at 3, 4. So then after we have our points, we're going to find our slope. We're going up 1, 2, 3, 4. Over 1, 2, 3. 4 over 3. Then we need to write our equation. So we're going to start with y. Minus y1. I'm going to use 0.00 because it's the easiest for me. So y1 then is going to be 0 equals our m, which was 4/3, times x minus x1. If we use 0, 0, my x1 is then going to be 0 as well. So then if I want to draw my box here and solve this problem, we have 4/3 x minus 0. 4/3 times x is 4/3 x. 4/3 times 0 is just 0. Now we have y minus 0 equals 4/3 x plus 0. And we can add 0 to the other side, which doesn't really matter because anything plus 0 is 0, or the same thing. So y equals 4/3 x. That is our equation for that line. Alright, we are going to use the graph to answer questions 5 through 8. How much was the initial membership fee? Well, where does our line start? This is the cost to join a boxing club. Where does our line start? Well, it looks like it's going up by tens because it goes up 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. The initial cost then would be $10 because it starts right here at $10. The cost per month then is we are trying to find how many steps did it take to get here. Well, if we started at 10 and at 5 months we were at 50, we are going to do 50 divided by 10. Sorry, not 50 divided by 10. We're not going to do 50 divided by 10, we're going to do 50 minus 10, because that's how we started at 10, so we need to subtract that 10 from our 50. So 50 minus 10 then would be 40, and so we spent $40 over 5 months. So we need to figure out how much per month we spent in total. So then what we're going to do is 40 divided by 5, because that's how much we paid over 5 months. So if we do 40 divided by 5, well, that gives us 8. So every month we pay $8 to join this boxing club. Number 7 says write an equation in slope-intercept form that relates the total cost in dollars to the number of months of boxing at the boxing club. So what we need to do is we need to find an M, and we need to find a B. So to find our M, we're going to do a rise over the run. So how we're going to find the rise is then we're going to go up from here to here. Now we're going up by 10, so 10, 20, 30, 40. And now we're going up by, or over by ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 40 divided by 5 is 8. Then our B is where our line crosses the y-axis. Well, we figured out that it crosses it at 10. So our B is 10. So then if we were writing an equation in y equals mx plus b, we have y equals our m, which we found was 8, x plus our b, and our b is 10. So y equals 8x plus 10. Now we are going to use this equation to find the cost of joining the club for boxing for 4 months. So what we're going to do then is put 4 in for 8, and we can find out our cost. So y equals 8 times 4 plus 10. So when we do this, we get y equals 8 times 4, which is 32, plus 10, which is 42. So y equals 42. It costs $42 to join the club and box for 4 months. Alright, our last problem says studies have shown that the more TV a person watches, the less sleep they get. The table below shows the number of hours people watch in one day and the number of hours of sleep they got. So what we're doing, it says which of the following line fits the data best. So what we need to do then is we need to look at our line of best fit. First of all, we need to figure out where it begins so we know our B. Well, it begins right here at 8. Now it doesn't begin at negative 8, so we can cross off B and D because it begins at 8, not negative 8. Now if we look, our line is going downhill. And if our line is going downhill, that means our slope is going to be negative. For A, our slope is positive, so we know it can't be A. Well, then our only option then is C. So we didn't even have to do any math. We just had to look and see where our line was. So we found our slope was positive or negative, And we saw where it began. It began at positive 8, not negative 8.